Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We know it's been a while, but we're back. This is your Lumio Live, where we are excited to celebrate International Dot Day. If you don't know what International Dot Day is, Casey would love to tell you more.
Lois, I'm so excited to be back with you. It feels like it's been far too long since we've joined on one of these lives. Yes, International Dot Day is one of my favorite days. It was one that I love doing in the classroom with my students. So International Dot Day is all wrapped around one of Peter Reynolds' books. And I have to tell you, he's one of my favorite authors. So if you haven't read all of his books, I recommend them. But this one is called The Dot, and it's about a student who feels like he can't draw, that he's not an artist. And I love seeing this student learn how to work through hard things because I think we all can learn that lesson.
Absolutely. Speaking of lessons, today, Casey and I are going to walk you through how you can create individual handouts for your students, our brand new Canva integration. Super excited about that. And how you can provide real time feedback with digital stickers that are super easy to create and use anytime. And we'd also like to talk about the power of white space or a blank canvas, right, Casey?
Absolutely. I'm so excited to start sharing. All right, so as Lois said, we're going to dive right in. If you want to join us live, you're welcome to. My class ID is 11311. So you can go to hellosmart.com and you can enter my class ID 11311 to join us live. Or if you just want to take a peek and watch along the way, that's great as well. But I wanted to give you a chance to join as a student if you'd like that opportunity. So 11311, hellosmart.com. That's how our students can join. All right, so today, as Lois said, we're going to take a look at how to use one of my favorite features that Lumio has, the ability to add an infinitely cloned object onto any page, really allowing our students to have digital manipulatives, quickly and easily annotate on text, give feedback, do heat maps, all sorts of check-ins can be happened using that infinite cloner. One of my favorite features. And then something that's new to us that I'm super excited about, and I think you will be too, is that we now integrate with Canva. So Canva is absolutely one of my favorite tools to use to create awesome graphic organizers and things for students. And now I have a much easier way to get that content straight into Lumio, which is pretty exciting. And then on top of that, I think one of the powerful things that Lumio has is the ability to give real-time feedback to our students, whether it's in their individual handout or a group workspace or even a whole class whiteboard. There's lots of ways we can do that. Today, we're going to take a look at how we can add digital stickers, and we even might have a little gift to leave for you guys afterwards.
I always like gifts. Gifts are great.
Right? Who doesn't? So this page actually was also created, the background, I should say, was created in Canva. And then I added some infinitely cloned objects here. So this is something we could do as like a kindness board. But there's lots of ways to take this idea and use it in different content areas and things like that. In this case, I wanted my students to really think about creating a kindness dot for different students within their class. I would want to make this a whole class whiteboard. So what I would do is either in editing mode, or I like to do it on the fly often so my students can't just jump right in. I can convert this activity into an individual handout. Every student has their own copy, into a group workspace where students are in small groups, or a whole class whiteboard where everyone's working in the same space together. So I'm going to do a whole class whiteboard, and you'll see that now you can hit resume on your end. And now you'll be able to actually drag down one of these dots, and you can just double click in that text box, and I can leave a little note. So I'm adding my note right here. I can double click over here in the student names and put who this is for. This is for my friend Lois. And so you can see how easy it is for our students to be able to drag and drop, edit the text box that already is there, quickly give information to or kindness notes to other students in their classrooms. But Lois, how else might we use an activity like this outside of Dot Day?
You know, that's a good question. What I really love about the flexibility of Lumio is maybe I want to provide some quick feedback. Or maybe we're working on writing essays, and I know that there's a mistake that my students have been making quite a bit. I could use this to just pop it right in to give that immediate feedback. Also, we know that behavior is communication, right? It's always communicating something. And we know the best way to have positive behavior or see the kind of behavior we want to see is to give positive reinforcement. So if someone has their supplies out, you could send them a quick note. Thank you for having your supplies out. And that just makes the world a better place, I think.
Absolutely. Another quick way to use this activity is to jumpstart a new unit, right? So, what if I had a background of an image that really tied into something we were going to be diving into, and I had students just use this whole class whiteboard to share questions, share connections, things like that, to start to build the curiosity for something that's coming soon. So I love that as well. And you can see, right, as we are working, we see little notes moving around. We can see text being added, which is great. So I love that the power of the whole class whiteboard. And again, being able to customize the types of tools that your students use as they add different content.
Absolutely. And it's really great because I know we're in Texas currently, right? But we could be anywhere in the world. We have Shahad and Marit from Iraq and Finland watching on the live. So it's really great that they can participate from all the way around the world.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that too. So, this is definitely a tool that can be used if you want to do learning with students outside of your classroom as well, which is great. All right, so let's move around and look at some other possibilities. So, this is an activity that I brought in, I created in Canva. I created the background in Canva. I actually added the text inside of Lumio, but I wanted to take advantage of some of those really neat features that Canva has to create the look of this page. And then I wanted to make sure that my students can really interact with this page and so I could add some of this additional text that they can click and edit as well. And then we have some great tools that our students can use to fill in the spot. So, one of the things that I like to do with my students is really leverage something called a small group workspace. So, this allows us, our last activity, we were all in the same space together. This activity would allow me to put students into smaller teams. So, in this case, I want my students to think about what is something they can't do yet. So, in the book, the student didn't feel like that they could draw. So, they started just by making a mark, right? One small mark. And they thought, I could make that dot better. And they kept working on it. So we want our students to think about what's something that we can't do as well as we want to yet. And then what would be great is sometimes there's a lot of pressure on us to think about what steps could I put in place to get myself better at something. But it's much easier for us to give advice to others, I think. What do you think about that, Lois?
I think that's amazing. I remember when we spoke with Raul the Third that he said when he started drawing that every time he got a no, he was like, it's just not yet, but I'm definitely going to do that. So I think that that's a great way to think about things because I think really we can do anything we put our mind to, right?
Absolutely. So in this case, I can click on the management button right here in the top left corner and this again allows me to choose between that individual handout, that group workspace, or that whole class whiteboard. Previously, we did a whole class whiteboard, but this time I could do a group workspace. So if I had a group of, say, 20 students, I could put them into teams of like 4, and then they could work together. So each student could put what is something that they can't do well yet. I love how the computer automatically creates those teams, but we can always reorganize the teams as well, which is really fantastic. So here we pull in, so I can have my students in separate teams. I could even drag and drop and put them into the same team as well. We'll keep you guys and imagine we have additional students here into 2 teams. So what that allows is students can be working together in a team. So if I was in Marit's team, team 1, each of us can come in here and we can put what's something that I can't do yet or something I'm not great at yet. And we can double click in that space and customize it. Then I can go into, as a student, I can add ideas. So if you can't draw yet, maybe I'm going to suggest that you start, you get a drawing book and you start practicing. Or maybe I'm going to suggest you start to trace things so you have that practice as well. So we can give our peers different advice as well using all of the tools going down our left side over here. And again, with this background, I brought it in with Canva. So now Canva, when you are using Canva, one of the apps that's available is a Lumio app. And so you can click on that link, and that link will allow you to export your content straight into Lumio, which is really great. Now, if you want to know more about how to use Lumio and Canva together, we are doing a webinar with Canva on Thursday. So we will put in a link so that you can register here in the chat. But we will be talking about directly and modeling for you how to use that new integration from Canva to Lumio. I'm excited to show it off to everyone. What about you, Lois? You love Canva as much as I do?
So I love Canva, and I'm actually a brand new Canva learner. So I would say that I'm not a Canva expert yet, but I'm really loving all the possibilities. It's really a great tool.
Well, whether you are a Canva expert, a Lumio expert, or whether you are brand new to both tools, our webinar on Thursday will be a great spot. It's for everyone, no matter where you are on your journey. We'll be showcasing how you can use these two great tools together. Ooh, I can't speak Japanese yet. Mart, that's a good one. So again, I could add, if I wanted suggestions for Mart, I could say maybe she should get Duolingo and practice that way. Let me change the text color to white. So I can start adding some suggestions and some ideas of how she might practice to learn Japanese.
Absolutely. And you know what I also love? Well, I don't love that I got called for jury duty on Thursday, so I'm actually going to miss the webinar, but I love that I'm able to register and receive the recording so that I can watch it on my own time, because I really am excited about learning new skills in Canva.
Hey, I think that ties to our yet, right? If you're not an expert at Canva or Lumio yet, you can either come live to our webinar or you can register and watch it when you have a chance.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's look at one other activity. This is something, again, I'll tell you, all three of my activities I've made inside of Canva and exported straight into Lumio. But one of the things that I did here is I added an object in Lumio. So I wanted my students to be able to move this dot to rank where they are. Because, for example, Marit said she wants to learn Japanese and she doesn't know Japanese yet, but maybe she's already been doing some work towards that. So she's not completely just starting. She's right about here, perhaps. And maybe someone else is sort of in the middle of their goal. So what we can do with any of these pages is we can also have students reflect individually. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this activity into an individual handout. So now each of my students will have their own copy. As soon as they hit start, I'll see their names show here on my screen, and I can actually monitor their work. I also have a teacher handout in the bottom right corner. So if I want to model for my students my expectations, I can click on that teacher handout and walk them through what their goal is. So I can say, okay, today I want you to use pictures and shapes and words to showcase what your goal is on the dot on this artist easel right here. You're going to write what your goal is, and then you're going to share two specific ways you're going to work to grow that goal. And then you'll drag your dot to rank where you are on the continuum. So are you just starting to work on this goal? Is this something that you've been working on a little bit? Or is it something that you're kind of getting close to getting all the way completed on? So you can move that and adjust that. As a user, as a student, and as a teacher, you have some different features on the left side. So I have my text tool, that letter A. I can click on that. So it's highlighted in blue, and click anywhere on my screen. And so if my goal is to I want to speak Spanish fluently. Okay, so I can add, and again, I can model for my students what we can do. I can continue to add. I can say, okay, I know some Spanish, but I'm definitely not close to being fluent yet. So I can start to adjust that. Now, what's nice is I can click on any of my students. So Shahad says that he or she is that they're completed with the activity. So I can click on that, and you'll see that they indicated that they're finished. Now I can see that maybe they still have some work to do. So I could leave a note by clicking on that A text, and I could say, can you complete the questions? But what's neat too, and I could change the color of that if I wanted to. But what's neat as well is I can, as a teacher, interact with my students using images as well. And I think images are great. Lois, I think you're the one that told me that how powerful it could be to not just recognize our students for their end result, right, for their grade, but for the work they're putting in along the way. So I could click on the left side of my toolbar. There is a heart, a plus, a circle, and a little image button. When I click on that, that allows me to do a lot of different things. I can bring in shapes or lines. I could bring in a link to a different website, or I can add an image. So in this case, I could search for an image, like I could search for great job, for example, and find an image that I wanted to add. But in this case, I actually want to select an image because my focus is more on what my students can do. And let's see if I can find one that I want. Let's see, I think it's one of these. Maybe I want to say stay focused, or I want to do one step at a time. So I can click on and open that sticker, and here it is. And so now this student that I'm working with is seeing this feedback coming to them in real time. And I can do that for all of my students. So I could pop into Lois's activity. Oh, public speaking, that's a tough one, right?
It
So I
is.
can select from images that I have. And let's see, there is You Never Gave Up. Let's add this one. So again, have some stickers that I can add quickly and easily so that my students are seeing that I'm recognizing not just the end result of their work, but how they're working along the way.
I love how in the chat, Shahad says, "Oops." So that immediate feedback works wonders, right?
It does. It makes a difference when you know your teacher's looking over your shoulder and giving that feedback in real time. And what's great is obviously I jumped into each of your lessons and we're all looking at it together, but I could do this privately where my students, their classmates aren't seeing as I give individual students their feedback. Only the person that I'm connecting with is seeing that, which is really great and powerful as well.
Absolutely.
And this is something we can do with any activity, right? So think about your content areas, think about different activities where students are working independently, giving that feedback and having maybe some digital stickers you like to use along the way. So for example, maybe I have one that's almost done, right? Or you're so close, like a you're so close sticker that I could add. So if a student is missing one or two things, I could put that sticker that indicates to them like, oh, I'm almost there. Let me see what I'm missing. They can correct it. And then when I look back, I can switch out, I can delete the original sticker and switch it out for a sticker that said way to stay focused or something along those lines.
You know, Casey, I love that there's so many different ways to use Lumio. Um, on the previous activity where we had the 4 little spots and we were doing a group activity, I was just thinking, like, how amazing would that be if we use that for maybe the lab in a science class, right? Like, what if we had our students take a picture of their end results and we could compare and have a conversation about why do different lab tables look a little bit different? What did they discover? What would they do differently next time? Because maybe they didn't perfect that lab that time, but it doesn't mean that they're not a scientist yet, right?
Absolutely. I love that idea. It's a great way to compare and contrast and narrow down different types of thinking as well. So with International Day, there's a ton of different activities you can do. There's a lot you'll see on social media. I mean, so many different options available to you. We have shown you a couple of things that you can do. September 15th-ish is what is usually when we celebrate Day. But what's great about that is it can really be it can really be any time of year, and it can be for all ages of students, because we all need to learn that framework of yet, right? There's a power in the word yet, and we want to think about that. So because we love International Dot Day here, we have a ton of activities that we love outside of the three that we shared today. We're not going to deep dive them, but I do want to make available to you a few other fun activities, lots of creative thinking for your students. So there's one that's a bird's eye view. This is an example of what that might look like, where students can drag a circle down and then use shapes and lines and color to customize it and think about what are they seeing from looking from the sky down. And that can be a really fun way of students to really have diverse thinking and sharing their perspectives. Another fun activity is always is tied to another fun book. I think it's called 10 Black Dots, but just the idea of having different dots and then thinking about how to turn it into something unexpected. So what else could this be besides the sail of a boat, for example? And because those are just a few of the endless ideas available, we also have one of my favorite things is this dot choice board. So this could actually be used throughout the whole year. So if you want a quick brain break with your students, or if you want them to really work on their creative thinking skills, you can pull this page up at any time. It doesn't have to be around September 15th-ish or International Dot Day. Here you will see a variety of different activities. They're all quick and fun and easy to do with your students. So great brain breaks, great ways to get your kids thinking in new ways, because it really positively impacts how they do in all subject areas when we teach them how to really be creative thinkers.
My favorite activity here is to create a dot that represents you and how you want to make a mark on the world. I just always love the opportunity to give students a way to represent themselves, especially for students who don't like speaking in class. I know I was that student, and I know nobody ever believes it anymore, but it's true. I wasn't able to speak up in class yet, and we know Lois loves to speak, so that actually happened. But I just love the ability to provide a digital resource to be able to do that. That's something that you could send home through a link on Lumio, or have people actually use white space on a piece of paper. I love seeing all the different ideas that come through for how you can engage your students using dots or digital stickers, or the different ways you can share your content, so that not only do you get that collaboration and communication in class, but it's also really a great thing to send home for students to practice with their people at home as well, right?
Absolutely. There's so many ideas and different ways that you can leverage and use Lumio. Some of the ideas you saw today obviously were wrapped around one of our favorite Peter Reynolds books, but these ideas can transfer to any content area, any subject area, any grade level area. It's looking through the lens of what you are teaching. So you be creative with how you implement some of these ideas. And we were excited to share this content with you. You will have access to this file. So if you want to use some of these activities with your students, it'll be available to you. We have a landing page that has the resources. It will also have those amazing digital stickers that one of our teammates created, so that you can use those with your students if you'd like, or with adult learners if that's who you work with as well. And Lois and I will be back, I think, every second Tuesday and fourth Tuesday, is that right, of the month, doing quick lives to share our favorite features or favorite things about Lumio.
Yes, I'm super excited about that because I always love to spend more time with Casey. Always.
Always, it's good to be together again after a summer away. So thank you so much for joining us. It was a great time, and we look forward to seeing you again in the near future.
Yes, and thanks